Yeah. And we couldn't figure out where the game would start or finish on Sunday at Mercedes
At
Benz
all.
Stadium. Like every time we thought the game was over, it then reset itself to the point where you wondered, okay, does either team want to win this game? But the funny thing is, before we go into the cray of that barn burner, right? The
Right.
dog fight and what felt like the battle of the averages, the one thing I wanted to say was, and you were there, Jarvis. So Jarvis was covering the game for ATL Day Ones and Locked On Sports Atlanta. And the one thing I said, even down to DJ Moore's touchdown, I was like, still don't feel like the Falcons are losing this thing. I don't. And all I can say is I continue to preach. This is a scrappy team. This is a different team under Arthur Smith. He started laying that foundation last season where it is not over until it's over. And I promise you, Jarvis, I had literally already drafted my tweet. And I sat on it. And even when DJ Moore scored, I had my TV on and I was watching. But I'm interested to hear from you before we dig down into it. Like, how was it being there?
Oh my God, it was absolutely crazy. Like I was kind of like right in between the the Atlanta media and everything and the Carolina Panthers media. So I'm hearing Carolina Panthers media cussing. They were like, God, this game will never be over. And I'm hearing the Atlanta media like, oh my God, he missed it. And so I was literally standing up, T, because I was getting ready to do the Locked On Falcons postcast. Y'all go check that out, by the way. We have a good time on that thing with Aaron Freeman. So I'm just sitting up, just standing up, and I'm just like, all right, this game about to be over. And then next thing you know, all I see is I hear somebody from down there. You know where D led? He all the way up in the corner, in the amen corner over there. He's just like, oh, you missed it. And I'm looking at the Panthers PR person. He's just like, ah. And I was like, no. I was like, okay, nobody wants to win this game, but yeah, just being there, T, just seeing the guys and you can just see in the guys' faces, like some of the guys was like, man, I'm just ready for this thing to be over with. And I think that once it went into overtime, I was just like, all right, the Falcons might just have a chance because like it was so funny. I was saying to myself, when they carried Young Wei Koo off the field, I was just like, man, they need to go get the Panthers kicker, Pinheiro, and carry him off. Like,
he's your
bro, we appreciate you, dog.
He's your player of the game.
Appreciate that, dog.
Yeah. And you might want to help him, Young Wei Koo, you may want to call your fellow colleague because I'm sure it's tight on him in Carolina this morning. I am sure things ain't going real well in Charlotte for him. However, Young Wei Koo, he's had a few Young Wei Koo not moments earlier in the season, right? But who we saw yesterday, that's the guy that was the Pro Bowler who literally went in there with ice in his veins. Hate to say something that cliche-ish, but it's the truth. He went in there and he did his job. And it just goes to show you, Jarvis, how when you have one job, you literally have to stay focused on just that moment. And I really think Eddie Pinheiro, things started going in his head once he missed that kick. And I just think it was like he could not recover. On the flip side, give a lot of credit to Marcus Mariota for recovering, especially in overtime, right? Because you and I, we went half joking, half serious when we were previewing and giving our keys to the game on Friday, right? And even Monday talking about after the last game saying, okay, so are we good to go? Not having the Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder switch up conversation. Give him his credit for throwing a pick in overtime that seemed to dead this thing for the Falcons. When they got it back, he said, my God, if I got to do it with my legs, then I'm doing it. And he put that team in position to win this game.
Yeah, when you're talking about, it was a 54-yard return on top of that too. So not only did he get a pick, the dude basically put him in field goal range as soon as he had the return, right? So he flipped the field on his own. So that was huge as well. So I think that when you think about though, that this is who Marcus Mariota is, right? I got a chance to do Sports Extra on 11 Alive, and I was just saying how this is who we're going to have to accept from him for who he is, right? Because I think that it's going to be safe enough because Arthur Smith is going to implement a game plan to make sure he doesn't put him in too many situations where he can make a mistake, right? So Arthur Smith is going to minimize as many mistakes as he possibly can with the game plan. And then Marcus Mariota, more than likely, he may get himself into a situation where he's going to make one. However, he's going to be put himself in a situation to where he's going to be able to make that necessary play and break off a 30-yard run on 3rd and 1 when you actually absolutely need it. Because Lord knows that, like you said, like I mentioned earlier, like people wanted this game to be over with. From the crowd that left at the beginning of the end of the fourth quarter, and the crowd that left not too long after that, it went into overtime. And so it was just a layers of people wanting this game to be over. And I think that Marcus Mariota said in his head, "You like, you know what? I'm about to give y'all a reason. Yeah, I'm about to give y'all a reason to leave. I'm about to make this bad boy get right." And then I think that with I think Coach Smith made another right decision when it comes to special teams and everything. And by kicking it on 3rd down, because hey, just in case something happens,
just in case,
I know I got my guy. I know he can go back and go get the job done.
Yeah, he's not going to do that twice. And we talk about the end of the game and the fact that the fourth quarter was just cray. 34 points was scored between the two teams, 4 lead changes in that particular quarter. But I even go back to something that we talked about as well, and want to get a little bit of defensive talk in there. But before we wrap up talking about some of the good on the offensive side, everybody had been screaming it. So while you enjoyed the game finally ending, how it started was very exciting for folks, because Kyle Pitts got his 2nd touchdown and he got 5 receptions, 9 targets, actually 80 yards, a nice solid game from KP.
Yeah, I like the fact that he was able to Marcus Mariota was able to get the ball to him so he can make a play after the fact, right? To get some of those yak yards, some of that brown liquor. You know, I love when those wide receivers getting that brown liquor, because that's something that you have to make sure that Marcus Mariota has to be on top of, because a lot of times he does throw the ball behind the wide receiver and does give him the opportunity to go make a play. And you saw that he was able to do that multiple times, right, with Demir Bird and obviously Kyle Pitts. So it was just beautiful. That touchdown pass was beautiful, right? Because when you think about how the Carolina, they were lined up, and then they kind of moved, the defender moved over almost on the outside, from an outside leverage standpoint, to Kyle Pitts. And as soon as the ball was snapped, Marcus Mariota, he locked in. He was like, all right, I know we got exactly what we want. And then he put the ball right on Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts did the rest. And I think that's a beautiful thing to see. The more they develop their relationship and start to get on the same page, I think the ball is going to start finding Kyle Pitts, and more so. And I don't even think it's going to have to be call plays or targeted plays from Arthur Smith. And I think Marcus Mariota is going to start looking for him more as their relationship continues to evolve on the field.
Indeed. Now, the defense hung in there, but there were moments, like you said, where we were looking for him and wondering where certain of them were or should have been on some plays. So I give a lot of credit to some of the defensive players. Like I really, and I got to just say this, Isaiah Oliver, just always good to see what he is doing. This is why you got him in the 2nd round, because you saw the potential there, and 2nd year in D&P system, getting the opportunity to be a specialist, so to speak, kind of coming in, as a nickel, but now injuries kind of putting him back in the space where he was before. And just to see him excel there was good. But you also have to say to yourself now, and I believe the defense did enough, right? Just enough to get by. And I think they showed you that they can do it in big moments, just like we hope to see them do these next stretch of games heading into the bye. But what do you think? Did the defense do enough, or could they have done a little bit more here and there, other than the head scratcher that became the DJ Moore touchdown?
To be honest with you, I think they could have done more just from a pass rush standpoint. I think that DNP's got really creative last week when you're talking about mixing it up and you having talking about the show blitzes and the double A gap blitzes and everything like that. I think he could have done a little bit more of that. I would have liked to have seen that, because PJ Walker is a guy that is not going to necessarily take off. Like when he moves around in the pocket, he's looking to throw the ball down the field, obviously. So and the Falcons found that out right there at the end of the game with 12 seconds left in the fourth quarter to go. So I think that was something that we knew about PJ coming into this game. So I think that I would have liked for DPs to kind of at least move him off the spot, heat him up a little bit. You saw it from time to time, but I would have liked to seen that a little bit more, because I understand that you're down in the secondary, but you can't get vanilla in the NFL. Once you get vanilla in the NFL, as far as guys knowing what coverage you're in right off the bat and pre-snap, I don't care who's back at quarterback. They gonna light your butt up.
Yes.
If they know if you playing cover 2 or 2 high safety or however whatever coverage you want to call out there, whatever the nickname you want to call it. If they know it on pre-snap tee, it's gonna be a long day. And I think that's where the Falcons found themselves throughout this game.
Yeah, and it was interesting that you mentioned that because on first glance, I was thinking to myself, okay, here comes the blitz for PJ Walker. They're going to get him. They're going to get him. But when you look back at that play, that wasn't a blitz. And that, but to your point, probably should have been, could have been. And I think if they had brought pressure in that space the entire game and kind of
make him get rid of the football and come up and make the tackle, right?
There you go. And make him exactly. At least make him feel it. At least give him some pressure. At least get some QB hits in there. And by the time you get to that play in the fourth quarter, he's certainly thinking twice about where he's going to go. Maybe releasing that ball just a hair earlier and maybe not having that touchdown to even take you to overtime. But speaking of that, if you want to know about Atlanta sports and the reactions, because we give it to you, we give you the good all day, every day. Of course, that means you're going to go to Locked On Sports Atlanta and ATL Day Ones for your first listen. But hey, for your next listen, you should always check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast because they give you the biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, just like reactions here, big game recaps. There were a lot of them, like the Eagles. Rest in peace, my Steelers, but the Eagles went 7-0. So that was the big game recap for you today that they're going to go after because the Eagles remain the only undefeated team in the NFL. And listen, kind of like our For the Culture, which is where we are headed to in a minute on ATL Day Ones, the Locked On Sports Today crew will give you their take of the day. So check it out. It's available on the Odyssey app, even on YouTube like we are, and of course, wherever you get your podcasts.